Now I request Mrs. Meenu Sachdeva from Diwan College of Education, Meerut for the prayer. Over to Dr. Meenu Sachdeva.
Thank you so much, ma'am. My name is Meenu Sachdeva और मैं दीवान इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ मैनेजमेंट स्टडीज में असिस्टेंट प्रोफेसर हूँ। आप सभी मान्य गणों को मेरा प्यार भरा नमस्कार। Ma'am, may I start the?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
मीनू मैम,
मैम जी, थैंक यू सर।
इतनी शक्ति हमें देना दाता, मन का विश्वास कमजोर होना। इतनी शक्ति हमें देना दाता, मन का विश्वास कमजोर होना। हम चलने रास्ते पे हमसे भूल कर भी कोई भूल हो, मन का विश्वास कमजोर होना। हम हमसे भूल कर भी कोई भूल होना। मन का विश्वास कमजोर होना। दूर अज्ञान के हो अंधेरे, तो हमें ज्ञान की रोशनी दे। हर बुराई से बचते रहे हम, जितनी भी दे भरी जिंदगी। वैर होना किसी का किसी से, भावना मन में बदलेती होना। हम चले हमसे भूल कर भी कोई भूल होना। इतनी शक्ति हमें देना दाता, मन का विश्वास कमजोर होना।
थैंक यू मैम।
धन्यवाद मैम।
Thank you so much, ma'am. Among the dignitaries today, we are having Professor S.K. Kak, former Vice Chancellor, CCS University, Meerut and Mahamaya Technical University, and Professor PRADEEP Kumar MISHRA, Director, CPRHE and NIEPA. For the formal welcome of the audience and the dignitaries, I invite National President, Dr. Shivpal Singh. Over to Dr. Shivpal Singh.
Thank you, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Enjoy every moment of each day. Enjoy the things you like. Endure the things you do like not, and count your blessings. There are a lot. Enjoy every smile, each splendor of fun, and enjoy your life, for you get only one. A very good afternoon, one and all present here. I, Dr. Shivpal Singh, President PACE and Principal, Diwan Institute of Management Studies, Meerut, UP. It gives me great pleasure to extend to you a very warm welcome on the behalf of the PACE for the 5 days online webinar. I extend a warm welcome to all. This UGC guidelines on the transforming B.Ed colleges into the multidisciplinary. I extend a very warm welcome to our today's great speaker, Professor S.K. Kak sir and Professor PRADEEP MISHRA sir. Sir, we are conducting this 5 days webinar in collaboration with KPPM College in Kerala and Devangiri University, Karnataka. Yesterday, Professor R.P. Tiwari, Vice Chancellor of Central University of Punjab, and Professor B.D. Kumar, Vice Chancellor Devangiri University, Karnataka, along with approx 200 participants with us. It's my distinct honor to heartily welcome our chief guest and eminent speaker, a great moderator, world-famed wisdom, a great philosopher, a very humble person, great educationist, my guru, Professor S.K. Kak sir, former Vice Chancellor, CCS University, Meerut, and former Vice Chancellor, Mahamaya Technical University, Noida. He was born in Srinagar in Jammu and Kashmir. He, sir, holds a BSc degree in Electronic Engineering and MTech in Microwave Engineering from IT BHU, Banaras. Sir received the degree of PhD in Digital Communication from BHU, Varanasi in 1985. Sir has over 40 years of experience in research and communication engineering. Professor S.K. Kak, communication system, optical and fiber optical communication, data network, signal processing, and AI engineering, and expert system, industrial, administrative, and consultancy to the several national and international organizations. He has been the member of the PDR and Apex Committee of Samyukta, the indigenous EW solution for the Army by the DRDO in 1994 to 1997, and a member of the Draft Certification Council for the Telecommunication Engineering Center, RFC, in switching system, and RFC in network device interface for the introducing national standards of DOT types approval since 1994. Professor S.K. Kak has received a number of prizes and awards, including Best Model Prize in 1965, 1967, and 1968 in the technical models exhibition during his undergraduate studentship in Bangkok. In 2012, Sir got Lifetime Achievement Award from the Association of IT BHU Alumni, New Delhi, for contribution to higher education and research. In 2013, Sir got IT Application in Education Leadership Award from the Confederation of Mobile Manufacturing of India, Delhi. In 2015, Sir got a Lifetime Achievement Award from the Kashmir Cultural Education Science Society for his contribution of science and engineering education. A leader is one who knows the way and shows the way. If your action inspires others to dream more, learn more, and become more, you are a leader. Innovations distinguishes between a leader and a followers. Thank you, sir. A great pleasure directs me welcome our second speaker of the expert session, Professor Pradeep Kumar Mishra, Director CPRHE, means Center of Policy Research in Higher Education. It's established in the National Institution of Educational Planning and Administration, NIEPA, New Delhi, to be deemed to be university. He has MSc Chemistry, M.Ed, and a PhD degree in education. Dr. Mishra has previously served as a professor of education and also held a responsibility of head and dean of the Faculty of Education at Chaudhary Charan Singh University, Meerut, UP. His research specialization are teacher education, educational technology, and vocational education. He has to be his credit many publications in the Journal of the International Review, authored reference books, complete R&D projects, development educational media programs, and supervised PhD scholars. He has received several prestigious international research scholarship that includes the Commonwealth Academic Fellowship of CSC, UK, Doctoral Senior Research Scholarship of B.Ed, Germany, from Erasmus Mundus Visiting Scholarship of the European Commission, National Scholarship of Slovak Republic, Massive Scholarship of Israel Government, and Research Exchange Scholarship of FMSH France. He has been a member of academic bodies of several institutions and organizations, and visited many countries for the different academic purposes. Sir has visited many countries like Germany, UK, France, Denmark, Netherlands, Sweden, Spain, New Zealand, Vietnam, Malaysia, Slovakia, Austria, Israel, and Japan, and received many scholarship and fellowship. I welcome you, sir, to this webinar. So stay with us, and I'm sure today's session will be really fruitful to all of us. Once again, I welcome Professor S.K. Kak, sir, and Professor PRADEEP MISHRA, sir, along with all the official office bearer of the PACE and coordinators of today's webinar series of the further session. Would like to take over and proceed. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir, for the welcome address and introducing the dignitaries to the virtual audience. We are fortunate enough to have such dignified and learned personalities among us. Now, I very humbly request Professor S.K. Kak, former Vice Chancellor, CCS University Meerut and Mahamaya Technical University Noida, to deliver the presidential address. Over to Professor S.K. Kak.
Thank you, ma'am. Thanks to the PACE. It's a wonderful acronym, Principals Association, and all the dignitaries who are attending the particular webinar. Most of us have become used to now to this kind of format, but the kind of interrelationship that one builds when one is face to face has a different meaning. Nonetheless, it's high time that we share knowledge. We try to understand what is in store for us in the future through the new education policy. And therefore, I would like to share the screen and go forward with the topic that I have chosen as NEP 2020 and teachers education. As you see, what we are talking about is teacher, how he plays a role and what role he plays in education. And therefore, I am reminded of this beautiful stotra, shlok, Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurve Namah. The idea is Brahma is a creator, Vishnu is a sustainer, and Maheshwara is a destroyer. So it is Guru who creates knowledge, who disseminates knowledge, and he is therefore equalized to Brahma. He sustains knowledge, through continuous introspection, through continuous learning, and through continuous interaction with his Shesha. And therefore, he is equated to Vishnu. He destroys ignorance. He destroys ego. He destroys bad qualities that are part or prevalent in the normal human being unless he attains the blessing of Guru. So Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara. This is how I interpret it. And Guru Sakshat Parabrahma. Knowledge is supposed to be Brahm. And if you are given the opportunity to understand knowledge, to share knowledge, to create knowledge, and to be part of knowledge, that's why you can be a Parabrahm. Tasmai Shri Gurve Namah. To all those people who are teachers, to all those people who are imbibed with the spirit of knowledge, who want to share knowledge, who want to create knowledge, who want to immerse in knowledge, and who want to live knowledge, to all of them, I bow my head. Salutations to all of you. So we have to start with this particular concept. Whom are we teaching, and who is this person about whom we are talking?
इसको सभी लोग नहीं जानते। हम अपने रिसर्च के दौरान इसकी बहुत सारी चीजें कलेक्ट की हैं। हम अपने गाइड से भी चर्चा की, बढ़िया है। अच्छा सब 20 साल की लाइफ में मतलब
कोई क्वेश्चन है?
No, sir, it was only disturbance. Sir, you carry on, please.
Okay. So every person among us has certain inherent capabilities and competencies. What we mean by capability is that you can have a capability in terms of why we call it capability is that you are able to do something with your own knowledge, with your own action, and with your own thinking. That is the capability. And the competency is how to convert that, what knowledge you have, what capacity you have, and what interaction you have, how you convert that into something good and something that is useful to the society, to yourself, and to the whole world. So these two qualities are inherent in everyone. Every one of us is blessed with these. And every person has a desire to know. The learning desire, the ability to understand and develop oneself is as fundamental property of a human being. And this is what we have to understand, that we are not the people who really create knowledge in him, but we are only trying to help him to know that knowledge. So everyone is trying to adapt to the environment around us. This is one of the fundamental qualities of a particular individual, that he also tries to interact with the outside world, and as the outside world interacts with him, he tries to adapt how to optimize his relationship and the relationship of the outside world to his own self. So everybody is therefore under constant engagement in order to adapt, adopt, and adjust to that change, because outside world is changing constantly. Outside world is demanding things which are going to be different. It is going to provide challenges. It's going to provide opportunities. It's going to provide instances where you have to test yourself whether your competencies and capabilities are up to the mark. And therefore, this adaptation, and this adjustment is a constant struggle with every individual. Every person has a unique perspective. Every one of us, because of our experience, because of what we have as a genetical framework and what we have learned in this world, has a certain perspective in life, has a style of operation, has a style of thinking, has a style of learning, had a style of being able to project himself and to interact with the world, has the ability to create his aura and interact or emerge with the aura of the others. Every person wants to interact, engage, and relate to the external world as he is a social being. So we cannot say that most of us are not social. Therefore, the engagement that we do in a society, that is one of the skills that is very important for all of us. So everyone is constrained by certain feelings, emotions, and needs. So all these particular things are being constrained. At the same time, limitations that are coming to us are because of the kind of feelings we have, the kind of emotional backgrounds we come from, and the emotions that color our perspectives and what our needs are at that particular time. Mostly, the coloration and constraints come from our interaction with the world and the world, how it interacts with us. So what is the role of and objective of education? It's basically, therefore, to fund up the fundamental quality that a human being has, how to enhance that. That is, how to enhance his personality, how to enhance his thinking, how to enlarge his ability to interact, how to empower him with knowledge that is good to explore, expand, and engage with the world around. There is constant disturbance. Can we please close down?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Tony on set.
Co-host, please,
Tony
आप
Joseph.
stop कर
Tony
दीजिए.
Joseph, can you please mute yourself?
Participants, please be careful. Co-host, please आप कर दीजिए mute. Co-host, Devanandan sir. Sir, you can mute the disturbing element.
Recording in progress.
Shivpal sir. Sir, host can also mute.
Dear participants,
Devanandan sir, please you can remove the disturbing person.
please those who are still unmute your mic and making disturbance, immediately you will be removed from this webinar. I'm sorry to say.
Devanandan sir, you are co-host. Kindly take care, please.
Sir, good afternoon, sir. Devanandan sir, you can mute, sir. You can mute. You have that option. You can mute. You can mute anybody. There is the option. Please, you can do. If participant cannot do, you can do, sir. You can do. You have that option.
Right, sir. Right, sir.
Devanandan sir, make me co-host also so that I can mute it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Over to Professor S.K. Kak. With great apologies, sir.
No. It's okay. I mean, we have to have a certain discipline. That's why I stopped. So just
Please carry on.
continue. To guide, train, and equip every person with life skills. Now, this is probably one of the most important aspects of education. Education is the ability to empower a person, to give him those skills which will make his life happy, which will make his life fulfilling, which will make his life productive, and most important of all, which will make his life so enriching that it will enrich others. So this is the fundamental thing that we want to say, that education should be able to guide, train, and equip every person with life skills. These life skills are continuously changing. As you change in your age, as you change in your profession, as you change in your station in life, as you change with time, your life skills needed are different and go on changing. So therefore, the particular person, when he comes to a educational institution, this is what is expected of that particular institution and education system to provide him with those life skills. So to train how to channel thoughts, one of the most important things that we generally in India started talking about when we started off education, the concept of education, was basically, are you able to control your thoughts? Are you able to control your emotions? Are you able to control your ideas? Are you able to control the coloration of emotions that impact you? And therefore, the ability to control one's thought, to control and channel one's thoughts, the ability to concentrate and focus on a particular idea or topic at a certain particular time is one of the greatest gifts that education can provide. However, the problem is that most of the time, this meaningful and heavy interaction with others in the social system helps you in understanding how you can interact with them. And therefore, the teacher has the capability and the capacity to do this particular this thing. So first, the teacher has to practice himself how to channel his thoughts and ideas, and then only he can teach it to the student and to others. So to encourage one to know what are the capabilities and competencies and creative ability potential of the person. So when you are interacting with a child, when you are interacting with a student, when you are interacting even with an adult, you must know what are his capabilities. You must be able to find out what are his capabilities so that you can work with him or you can create a team with him on that basis, so that the competencies can grow, can add, can multiply when you are interacting with that. So when you are in a classroom, that classroom interaction will depend upon how you are able to bring out the best among the students, how you are able to then convert that best into a group activity, and that group activity, how it results in mass learning at that particular time. So then to train what? The ability to analyze one's thoughts. You have talked about channeling thoughts, but in order to channel the thoughts, one has to be able to analyze what kind of thoughts are going on in your mind and how those thoughts are being converted into action, and what those actions are, what emotions are getting attached to those actions, and therefore, how do you deal with them under any circumstance, under any condition, and under any challenge. One of the most particular things is that our education system, unfortunately, does not do either the training of thoughts or the training of analysis of thoughts, or the ability to color and control emotions. To enable decision-making between good and harmful actions, thoughts, and relationships. This is probably one of the most missing things in our education today.
Sir,
Muted.
please unmute, sir. Sir, your voice. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So the ability to do this, the ability to understand what is good and what is harmful, what is bad and what is negative, and the ability to do that amongst different relationships is the most fundamental thing in order to harness happiness, in order to have a positive contribution in the life for yourself and for the society. So this is what we need to teach, and this is how education can really make a contribution to the society and to the individual. To empower creative impulses for self-expression and social benefits. Basically, when we try to talk in terms of liberal arts, when we try to talk in terms of training in language, when we try to talk in terms of training of the mental discipline, these are the things that we are trying to talk in terms of creative impulses and how to use them for self-expression. Most of you know that in India, the dance performance and the mudras and the actions, the facial expressions, how they interact in order to express a story. And this is what is the creative impulse in terms of the individual. But there are other nuances which we call as body language and which we call as general language in terms of writing, reading, and how do you annotate your comments, That's how also what we have to teach to the students. To learn engaging in healthy, harmonious and pleasant way with your juniors. How do you interact with your juniors and how do you interact with your seniors? How do you treat them with dignity? What is the ability to understand and congruent expression of interaction? That is one of the most important roles of education. Now, we try to talk in terms of what are the current education issues with Indian education. I'm reminded of an survey that was conducted by Stanford University in India. And this survey was started in 2016 and continued till 2019. For 3 years, they continued to interact with something around about 168 colleges and plus 50 colleges in order to interview 40,000 students. And this is what they came out with. That most of our Indian students are too bookish. They are highly examination oriented and highly pedantic. Pedantic means they are not able to understand how relationship change, how knowledge changes, how knowledge interaction changes, and what this particular thing is, and how you relate that knowledge to what is happening in front of you or in your life. So very little application-based group work and intensely competitive. Now, these both things are because you are competing with each other so intensely, therefore you are not able to create a group and you are not able to apply your knowledge or apply together in a group work. Lacks 360-degree and holistic assessment base due to tight silos. That means people are in engineering, so they know only about engineering. They don't know much about music, life, biology, and other particular things. So, or if you are in medicine, or if you are in education, or if you are in legal system, or if you are in any other particular profession. So what happens is you are too tightly busy within your professional education and do not have the diversity and do not have the enormous amount of breadth in order to make life a holistic process. This is because our assessment system is also not holistic. So our the ability to have formal, informal, and vocational coherently integrated into our curricula is missing. Collaborative, collective, and cooperative team operations are missing. Multidisciplinary, multi-domain, multidimensional thinking is absent. This is probably one of the greatest flaws in our education system today, because of which what happens is, as you know, whenever you are working in any particular group, there are people with different orientations, different domain experts, different people come from different cultures, different languages. They have their different perspectives, and you are not able to team with them because you have not been able to, or you have not been guided in how to interact with multidisciplinary, how to learn from each other, and how to convert that learning into a synergy of outcome. So learning, unlearning, and relearning and self-learning are not assessed. How do you teach a student to unlearn is one of the greatest problems of education today. And because of that, how we can use technology and technology-driven pedagogy, that is a very, very strong area that we need to understand that has to happen in education system. So teachers' handicap and limitations. What are the basic problems with teaching in India? No training for teachers engaged in various ENT and professional education. When you go into law, you are not trained how to teach law. You might be a brilliant lawyer, but you are not trained how to teach law. You are not trained how to teach engineering. You are not trained how to teach medicine. Medicine slightly has a better this thing because most of it is clinical, and therefore there is a certain aspect in clinical training, and that helps you in teaching also. But in most of other professions, we have very great shortage in terms of engaging people from different professionals how to teach. Teaching is an art, teaching is a science, teaching itself is a technology, and teaching itself is a very, very strong intellectual exercise which has to have a certain amount of input from the people who are educationists. So general teachers education is not tuned to collaborative or cooperative learning and jointly exploring of the topics. Now, what do I mean by that? Many of us are constantly thinking about a monologue, not a dialogue, not exploration of knowledge, but exposition of knowledge, not creating knowledge in the classroom, but informing knowledge in the classroom. So these are the problems that that are handicaps of today's teaching system. New ideas in learning theory and pedagogical aspects are missing, if not lost it altogether. Technology infusion in teachers' education is low, and this has become a challenge, or this did become a challenge during the COVID period. But I'm very glad to say that most of the teachers, even from elementary schools, even from schools which did not have any particular infrastructure, they tried to adapt, they tried to adopt, and they did succeed in making distance learning, online education, and teaching through the digital platform quite a success. So this technology infusion in teacher education has to be a complete part and parcel of our teachers' B.Ed program, and that is what I want to say. Similarly, critical thinking and higher order thinking assessment techniques are not practiced. The basic problem is there is very little data analytics, there is very little formative, summative, and corrective assessment techniques that are brought into the operation of teachers' training. And at the same time, how do you test innovation? How do you test creativity? How do you test novelty? And how do you bring it into the content creation, into the delivery system, into the assessment process? And at every particular point, this is missing in the most of the education system today, not only at school education, but also at higher education. And much of this is needed for educational community in India. Research in cultural, historical, and evolutionary aspects of teaching, learning, and training are not encouraged. There is very little, I would love to debate this in a very more elaborate manner, but the fact remains that we have never tried to understand what are the cultural requirements of teaching in India. The Gurukul, probably India is one country which has had the oldest possible tradition in knowledge sharing, in knowledge creation, in knowledge dissemination, and in Guru Shishya Parampara. But we are totally ignorant about it. The what Sanskrit language can do to the human creative potential, what it can do to cognitive aspects, cognitive dimensions of an individual, we are totally ignorant about it. And the world is trying to use that, and they are trying to then teach us what Sanskrit language can do, what recitation of shlokas can do, what a particular liturgy of things can be done. So the evolution aspect of learning that has been part of India's culture is totally missing in today's B.Ed program. I'm sorry, I might not be very, very correct, but this is what particular aspect I gather from the kind of interaction I have had with various people in education. So what is the demand from teachers in NEP 2020? First demand is, you have seen that the early childhood education and care is probably one of the greatest steps that the new education policy has brought around in the current structure. Why do I say so? Because what was happening informally, what was happening in urban areas, what was happening for high and middle class society, what was happening for those who are in the advanced income group, has now been brought into the education as a mandatory and essential part. The early childhood education, especially 3 to 5 or 3 to 8, is a fantastic thing, because as all of you must know, will be knowing, that the greatest development of a human brain occurs when between year 1, when he is 1 year old, to when he is 5 year old. These 4 years, or exactly 3.5 years, is probably the greatest expansion of his thinking, greatest expansion of his emotional capability, greatest expansion of his language learning, and greatest expansion or greatest experience of how to interact with the outside world. And this particular thing, no doubt, when he was in our homes, and there used to be grandparents, there used to be granduncles, there used to be other elderly people, they used to substantially improve this particular interaction with the young child, because they would recite poems, they would recite stories, they would recite certain this thing, and that is what basically used to fill that particular gap and expand the ability for the student or for the child to learn about how he has to interact with mother, how he has to interact with father, how he has to interact with elders, how he has to interact with his siblings, or how he has to interact with other people in the family. So this now, because of the nucleated families, because of the family of only parents, this has decreased and the demand for the child to learn has grown out of the personal bondings into technology. Now, the problem with the technology bonding is that, therefore, what happens, the student or the individual starts believing and behaving more as intimately with technology rather than with individuals. So this brings in a very, very great chasm in our relationship building, in our ability to understand human emotions, in ability to interact with people, and in order to read body language, in order to understand the non-verbal communication, in order to be able to discern how group activity, group dynamics works in a particular environment. So these are the particular things that need to be brought in early childhood education and care. So this is one of the greatest things which teachers are very little equipped to handle at the present moment. And how do you cope with digital challenge in the classroom? Now, many of us are aware that even children at age of 2 or 3 are able to use mobile phones and smartphones so efficiently that many of us are challenged with what they are doing with that particular thing. And many a time we have to scold them. And the problem is that whenever we try to challenge them, they challenge us in return. So think about a teacher who is dealing with these kind of kids in a classroom of 30, not to speak of a classroom of 40, 45, which is the general number in our schools. Therefore, this digital challenge, how do you disengage your children from the digital domain to the real domain? How do you disengage with them that it is not, digital is not the complete world, but the other world is also as important or probably more important? How do you make them disconnected with that particular part of the life which is beyond the screen, whether it is the screen of a computer or the screen of a mobile phone or the screen of a television? Therefore, we are trying to talk in terms of this digital challenge. How do you overcome this? And this is a big challenge for the teachers of today. I have interacted with various teachers all over the world, and this is proving to be quite a tough task. Anyway, multidiscipline, multi-domain teaching methodologies. Why is it important? Because if we are trying to talk in terms of which child will become what, what is going to be his future career? Do we know it? Can we predict it? Can we forecast? What kind of specializations will be there tomorrow? No. Are we able to talk in terms of holistic domain mapping? No. Are we able to try to talk in terms of what methodologies, what science, what technology, and what skills will be needed for tomorrow? No, because the dynamics is so fast and the changes are so much that it is important for us to tell or teach the child three important things. Number one, we'll be coming to that later on, but here multidiscipline is probably one of the most important things. And that is why going from education, which is a silo, to education that is multidisciplinary is a very important step. Learning to teach and teaching to learn. This is the new age pedagogy. Now, what do we mean by learning to teach? As I said, not many people knew how to teach online. Not many people knew how to make content online. Not many people knew how to handle a class which might not be attentive at all online. And these are the learnings that happened during the COVID period. The challenges are that today's child is so well defined in terms of the knowledge space that you seem to be a very, very small bob in that particular area. So the teacher has to make himself relevant, teacher has to make himself appealing, and teacher has to make himself most loving in order that the student can really come forward with expectation of something new every day when he comes to a classroom, whether he is at the school or whether he is in the higher education. So teaching to learn itself is a very big challenge today. And what are the new age pedagogies and how these new age pedagogies are going to be useful? This is the demand of NEP 2020. Assessing higher order thinking, innovation, creativity, knowledge application via PBL. And what PBL is, we'll discuss in the next slide. Partnering with technology for teaching challenged children. This is one domain where we are, India is gradually coming up to certain particular class, that those who have autistic children, or whether they have hearing disability, learning disability, mobility difference, or other particular problems, there how technology can be a help, and how therefore in certain B.Ed courses we have to bring in technology oriented education. That is what we are talking about in NEP 2020. Why and how of overcoming the classroom constraints. What are the classroom constraints? The classroom constraints are basically that the idea is that can or should classroom represent the world, or should the world represent the classroom? The dichotomy is when we say that can the world represent the classroom, I mean, can you bring into the classroom the whole world? Through internet today you can, and it was not possible earlier. So today what we are trying to talk about is that are you able to bring in multiple inputs from outside into the classroom, and therefore avoid that particular classroom constraint that it is only me and you who are interacting. No, it can be a multidimensional interaction all over the world, and that is probably one of the other challenges in NEP 2020. Now, how do you make this happen? It's not basically in only in high-flying schools. It's not only in very expensive schools, but it can be done even in ordinary schools, in government schools, where there is not much of this thing. But yes, there is a certain amount of technology needed, and that is how we have to try to talk in terms of changing the classroom constraint into a classroom enabled system. Flipping the class and classic flip. Why and how? Many of us do not probably or maybe know that the monitor system, the system to tell one student to get up and forewarn him that tomorrow you have got to teach this thing. to the class. This particular process was tuned so beautifully in our education system, in Gurukul Parampara. This system was tuned to such an extent that many of the good students used to be second group to their group. And this second group concept was training simultaneously a student to be a teacher, to be able to express himself, to develop the art of knowledge transfer, to develop the art of interaction, to develop the art and science of how to organize one's thoughts and communicate them, and how to structure one's thinking in around a topic. So this is what is basically right in terms of classic flip. The classic flip was that the monitor or the best student, we used to change a certain amount of student templates, and therefore give them different topics, give different avenues to expand, and then sometimes work in a group in order to discover a particular topic and then discuss it in the classroom. So flipping the class is basically an old technology, but in a new format. And the new format is that when we tell this class to break up into the groups, discuss among themselves, and teach across those groups, then that is basically flipping the class. It's not the role of the teacher to only teach, it's the role of the teacher to also tell students, train students how to self-learn and how to use that learning in order to infuse what you know in the others. So this is what is the difference, why we want to do it, but how we want to do it is what teaching education should have to do. So PBL, what is generally it's known as play-based learning, project-based learning, problem-based learning, and proposal-based learning. So PBL is an acronym for all these. When we are trying to talk in terms of early childhood education, what we need to do in PBL is play, role play, game design, game analysis, game introduction, and gaming exercises. So can we try to talk in terms of, I mean, most of the time what you do is you try to tell the child, okay, tomorrow you have to play this role. So you tell them to, okay, go read about this particular character, and tomorrow you have to tell us and behave like him in the particular class. Or you have to behave like A, B, and C. So role model exhibition, role play, and how do you behave? So this is basically training in the self-governance, training in self-expression, training in self-cognition, and most importantly, how do you express yourself and make that expression valid for others. So this is basically play-based learning. And in this play-based learning, you can teach mathematics, you can teach science, you can teach history, you can teach arts, you can teach geography, you can teach any subject under the world, engineering, science, technology, whatever. So this role-based play and play-based learning is probably one of the most important things that teaching education needs to bring in today in the curricula. Then the primary and middle level, where we are trying to talk in terms of problem-based learning. Many of this thing is done today. You do solve problems in the classroom, but basically part of the story. The second part of the story is, can you identify social problems, convert them into an academic problem, then solve them and see how the solution can be applied in the society. Now, this is basically problem-based learning. What I mean to say that we try to model a particular social behavior, social problem, social traffic, social concept, and then try to use that and apply our knowledge at that particular time, either in an individual or as a group or as a whole classroom, and break it into the particular instances and create that particular problem-based learning. And at the secondary and higher secondary level, or even at the higher education level, we do project-based learning. project-based learning is that you try to take down whatever problem you have identified in the society, whatever solutions you have made, you convert it into a real world project and then see how it can be used. Many of you might have known that AICT conducts hackathon, or there are other particular organizations that are conducting hackathons, software hackathons, hardware hackathons, hackathons for solving ministry problems and things like that. So this is basically project-based learning. Normally in every school, there is a project at the end, what some people call in higher secondary and secondary schools, this particular task is converted into a whole series of actions. And what does a student expect to learn? He's expected to learn group behavior. He's expected to learn how leadership happens. He's expected to learn how project management is done. He's expected to learn how constraints are understood and evolved. He is expected to learn how do you negotiate your this thing, and at the same time you are able to create a particular understanding of how these projects are handled in real world. So you can take them to certain probably top projects in the this thing. I was once talking to Gadkari Sahab, and he said that we want engineering students to come to the infrastructure projects and learn from them, and then tell us and go back and analyze what we are doing and tell us if it can be done at a lower cost, if it can be done in more efficient manner, or if it can be done at a higher this thing. And then finally, proposal-based learning. This is basically where we try to talk in terms of whenever we create a hypothesis or whenever we create a particular learning exercise or trying to identify a scientific problem and or engineering problem, and then how do you solve it? And that is this thing based learning. How much time do I have, please?
Devanandan sir, please tell.
Yeah, as much as sir, it is a really wonderful session. So we are expecting more from you, sir. Please.
Okay. Sure. Thank you. So now I come to the crux of my talk. This and the next slide are the real part of the talk. NEP and teachers' education. How the teachers' education is going to change is because as I said, self-learning and continuous learning, learning over the job, learning on your feet, and learning to learn is probably the greatest challenge, and that is what is known as continuous professional development. What we mean by that is that once you have left the portals of your college, either as a B.Ed graduate, M.Ed graduate, or even as a doctorate in education, that the development, professional development does not finish there. It's probably one step that you have gone ahead. And this is where we want to try to talk in terms of a continuous hand-holding of each other, continuous hand-holding of the best in the class to the others, so that we create new educational pedagogies, so that we create new educational silos, and so that we create new educational multidimensional systems that will benefit in creating positive education steps in the country. So while we are trying to talk in terms of career management and progression, this is directly linked to the continuous professional development. So you are, even today, there are various that you have to attend certain seminars. How do you perform there? What certificates you get? How those certificates are relevant to your this thing? Then what you have learned in those seminars? How do you apply it in the classroom? And so on and so forth. So but there is no record of that in terms of a quantifiable record. I'm not talking of qualitative record. I'm talking of a quantifiable record. So what we are trying to talk in terms of today, that their professional standard for teachers, PST, by state standard accreditation councils and national standard accreditation councils. They will start talking in terms of evolving professional standards for teachers. These standards, how they are to be met through the continuous professional development, career management and progression. Therefore, it is possible for a teacher to know what is expected of him at what stage and how he has to meet that challenge and when. So when this particular map becomes firm, is defined for the teacher, that is how career progression can become not a heart-burning thing, cannot become ad hoc and discretionary, but has to have a scientific basis and has to have a quantifiable basis. There has to be a certain amount of qualitative basis also, no doubt about it. It cannot be all quantitative, but there is a certain amount of quantitative benchmarks that must be met, and over that there can be a qualitative this thing. So the challenge is how to create this continuous professional development scale and how to career manage and progression through the professional standards of teachers. So how you can contribute to that, how you can try to talk in terms of what professional standards are necessary for a teacher to perform in the class under the evolving circumstances. Special educators training for challenged children. This is a very important thing. We talked about it, that there are unfortunately many children in the society who have certain challenges, either mental or physical or learning challenges or other challenges, and how we can partner with technology, how we can use technology, how you can use group behaviors in order to service that. And therefore, if you are one of those teachers who is ready to do that, who is willing to do that, take extra pains, then we can probably have better service environment for them, give them better chances, better equipment, better training, better works also. I continue to say that. And technology infusion in virtual reality, augmented reality, immersive reality, and new age tools for skill development. Now, today, most of us know that we do not, we can practice driving even while sitting in our home and using computer. So simulators, emulators, and other AR, VR systems, even children are using these nowadays. So can we use them in order to train the students to do certain particular exercises, and how teachers' education can use that as a part of training? And modular courses based certification for CPD and CMP. So this is what is this thing. Minimum number of courses has to be certified courses have to be taken. Maximum number of contributions have to be understood, and therefore, as per the professional standards, the career progression can be this thing. I will invite questions for this. We'll discuss it in this. So from monodisciplinary to multidisciplinary thing. Now, as we said, education is not something that happens only in a particular area. When I try to tell a student how to think, can I really tell him how to think? If I can tell him how to think, I have to do 4 things for him. I have to tell him how to focus, how to concentrate, how to channel his thoughts, how to know when he is straying from the thought, or when he is being overtaken by the other thinking processes. So dilution in thinking, thinking concentration, thinking focus, and thought discipline, these are the need not across in only education, not only in teaching, not only in learning, not only in the solving any problem, but they are part of any human being. The more focused you are, the more capable you are in order to control and discipline your thoughts, and the more ability you have in order to think not of a particular this thing, but apply rules across the domain of your understanding, then you can come up with new innovative solutions. So that is why we are trying today to talk in terms of education as a process of human development. And the human development has to be 360 degrees, has to be in multiple shades, has to be across this thing. You cannot have, you know what we have done? I'm going to take an example from engineering, because engineers have created havoc. They have created such mega blunders that because of which the whole humanity is almost on the pearl of dying. The pollution of air, water, noise, and even thinking or of communication is a example in question. So when we are trying to talk in terms of using of fossil fuels or using of this thing, we are not trying to talk in terms of, we have not been, I mean, the engineers have not been able to understand what it entails in the downstream, or when we are doing mining, what it entails doing in the downstream, how the end of life product has to be handled, how we have to understand a particular product, how its integration into different cultures has to happen. Smartphone, when it is being given to some particular individual, how it can be made user-friendly, that is possible. But how harmful this smartphone is by the time it becomes useless, and how do you integrate it into this thing? How do you recycle it? Those are the problems of education as a process of human development. Human development cannot exist in a silo. It has to have multidisciplinary, and therefore the challenge of multidisciplinary academic transformation is huge. And we cannot expect a single institution which is teaching only a single discipline to have these kind of dimensions unless we have multiple people who are rich in multiple disciplines who interact with those students. And therefore developing a multidisciplinary institution from a single discipline one is very, very important. When we see the UGC guidelines, when we talk about the UGC guidelines, in order to convert from a single or monodiscipline course into a multidisciplinary course, we are probably not understanding that it is the requirement of time. It is whether we like it or not, either, you know, what happened to the people in engineering should not happen to people in teaching generally. That is what is to be avoided. We need not understand, we need not go do the same mistakes, do the same errors, and do the same blunders that have been done till now. But we have to find and think in new ways, and that is why developing a multidisciplinary institution from a single discipline one is very, very important from that point of view. How do you do it? In what circumstances will depend upon three factors. Number one, in which part of the area you are, what has been your strength, and what is the ecosystem in which you are. So there cannot be, every institution cannot be converted into every multidisciplinary one. One has to understand its strength, and then work is a cluster, create a cluster of institutions so that they can interact with each other, and one institution can create mastery in one particular area, another in another area, third in third area, and fourth. And then this cluster can enrich students by interchanging students, exchanging staff, exchanging laboratories, exchanging other particular facilities, so that multidisciplinary system can evolve, multidisciplinary learning can evolve, even though the individual might be a single distinct. Enhancing competency of students and their capabilities. This is one of the most important things in terms of multidisciplinary education. If you are not teaching students today that what it is, what aesthetics is, you cannot tell them to be a good designer. If you cannot tell them what material constraints are, you cannot tell them how to do 3D printing. If you cannot tell them what biology teaches us in terms of so many this thing, you cannot make him his competency suitable for today's world, not to speak of tomorrow's world. So integration of biology integration of natural design, integration of understanding how nature evolves and how thought evolves and how design evolves and how constraints evolve. This is the basic competency building that we have to try to talk in terms of, to give capabilities of this to the student so that he can act in a masterful manner in the future challenges of the society. The three pillars of success in current era are data analytics, and multi-domain integration in the data analytics. What I mean by that is that when we are trying to talk in terms of education itself, let's try to take an education. Now, is there any data as of today of a student of 7th class as to what his performance was in the class 1, class 2, class 3? How did he develop? What kind of curiosities he had? What kind of this thing we had? Nothing. We do not have this particular kind of information base about the individual. We do not have the kind of understanding how he is evolving, and therefore how we can help him in evolving better, in becoming a better person. So this data analytics, this data preservation, and converting it into a multi-domain integration is probably one of the most important things in the future of education and future of success for the individual. Digital technology in future in work and life. Most of us are now aware about it, but there needs to be even more stronger build-up of this. Teamwork, problem identification, knowledge application, and innovation. How do you rate teamwork? Now, most of you are teachers, so most of you know that when you have a project and there are 4 members in the project, it is so difficult to understand who is the person who is really doing work, who is the person who is trying to cash on that, and who is the one who has got the ability to understand and to represent that. There might be someone who is very good at report writing. There can be someone who is very good at working. There can be someone who is very good at articulating. And there can be someone who is really good at scientific modeling or thinking or like that, or innovation. So when you have these different groups, then how do you break the particular project into multiple this thing, and therefore allot teamwork to them and see that everyone excels in his own field, and yet he knows what the other person is doing. So integration of multiple domains and teamwork, how do you make that happen, and how do you assess it? That is where the problem is. Now, given a social domain, given a social panorama or a social spectrum, and in that you try to tell them, according to you, how do you rate problems in the society today? Now, when you rate problems, what are your constraints? What are the basis of your rating? What is the basis of your analytics? So these are the problem identification techniques, and then how to solve them. What is your knowledge base at the present moment? How that knowledge base is to be applied, which is relevant, which is not relevant, and what constraints are there in that knowledge? What will be the cost-benefit analysis and things like that? And therefore, how it will transform into innovation will be this thing, next discipline. So institutional viability, credit bank, choice-based credit system with multidisciplinary operations is the future of education. And it is future of education for B.Ed. It is future of education in every particular discipline of this thing. Otherwise, it will become very difficult to be a viable institution, and viability not only from the economic viability point of view, but from the social dynamics point of view also, the viability is very important. And once you have the credits, unless your system of content assessment and other system of assessment is same or similar, you cannot have choice credit sharing and credit banking. You cannot have transfer of student from one cluster to another cluster, or one institution to another institution. one university to another university, and still make it relevant for him to happen and succeed and get a degree at any stage. So multidisciplinarity of operation is not only in terms of the disciplines of employment, but disciplines of action, disciplines of existence, disciplines of life. They are also at the same time important for multidisciplinary operations. With that, I come to end. Thank you. And any questions? I would try my level best to answer. I know that you are masters of your trade, so I'll be very humble in terms of saying that I have tried to cover whatever I could do in this particular short span of time. And thank you for giving me time. Thank you for the platform. Thank you for the Principals Association for inviting me to share my thoughts. And thank you to Diwan College. And
thank you very much for your time.
I hope it was interesting.
Really.
Yeah, sir. So it was really very interesting. So is there any query so that sir can answer?
So, ma'am, Tripta ma'am, the queries can be done later. MISHRA ji has another meeting at 4 o'clock. So
Fine,
please
fine.
invite MISHRA ji to session.
Fine, sir. Fine, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for sharing your profound thoughts with us and guiding us. So you have very beautifully explained the importance of Guru. You have stated that we are creator of knowledge depending upon our own capacities and competencies. There are thoughts, your thoughts reflect all that is Vivekananda philosophy, that is Aham Brahmasmi, I can do what I want to do, keeping in view the welfare of the society. So you have explained the role and objectives of education, issues of Indian education, teachers, handicaps and limitations, demands of National Education Policy 2020, National Education Policy and teacher education. So it was really a bliss to listen to a personality like you. Your address was just like the rays of knowledge coming from the storehouse of knowledge. Thank you so much, sir, for being with us. Thank you for sharing the blessings of knowledge. Now I request Professor Pradeep Kumar Mishra for the thematic session to deliver his address. Over to Professor Pradeep Kumar Mishra ji. He is Director CPRHE and NIEPA. Over to Professor Pradeep Kumar Mishra ji.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Respected Professor S.K. Kak, Office Bearer of Principals Association, Colleges of Education, delegates from different parts of the country, and one college and university is conducting this webinar. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. And I feel blessed and fortunate to speak after Professor S.K. Kak. He has nicely elaborated how our education system is evolving, what are the expectations of NEP. And now my task is a bit easy because I have to focus more on teacher education. Sir was talking on so many things, and every slide was a wonderful presentation. I feel blessed and fortunate to attend his session. So friends, my request to all of you, please mute yourself. Otherwise, this is very difficult to speak. Yeah, okay. So friends, today I've decided to talk about a particular topic. In teacher education, countries learn from each other. So we also have a scope to learn, and others also have a scope to learn from us also. So I am going to discuss what are the practices from high performing education system versus our practices. So this will give you an orientation, this will give you an insight how to improve, how to better our system. And in teacher education, this is a tendency. Every country is learning from every country. So we are not only that we are learning from other countries are also learning from each other. The second thing is the facts I am bringing in this presentation are based on my observation, visits to several countries. And whenever I visited any country, mainly my focus was to study teacher education, as well as an ample literature is available, how high performing education system are functioning and what is the role of teacher education is. So what I'm going to say is basically based on observation and supported by literature. Friend, usually we say that the success of any education system is directly proportional to the success of its teachers. And success of teachers is directly proportionate to the success of teacher education system. So in a way, we can say that if there is any high performing education system, we can assume that the system of teacher education of that particular country is also good. So I am starting with this argument. So let's see what are the countries. There are many countries and there are many parameters, not only one or two or three, there are many parameters. So on different parameters, you can rate different countries. So if you talk about high performing education system, so their countries, Australia, Canada, Chinese Taipei, Finland, Germany, Scotland, Singapore, many countries. So we can learn how teacher education system is functioning in these countries, and we can compare their practices with our practices. And that I'm going to do now in 5-6 slides, one by one. I will compare these, and hopefully we will discuss something, we will learn something. So I'm going to compare our practices versus the practices of high performing education system. So start with the admission process. How we make admissions in teacher education program. What is the criteria of before admission? In our country, admission of a student without assessing demand and supply. So we have a policy, a fixed number of seats for teacher education. Suppose your college, you have a B.Ed program. So you have been given fixed number of seats, 100 or 200. So we have fixed number of seats all across India. There is no survey how many teachers we need and how many seats we are going to. So there is no such survey. Every year we are producing similar number of teachers without caring, without thinking actually how much teachers we need. So far there is no specific policy of assessing demand and supply in our country. We basically work on fixed number of seats. So every year we are producing similar number of teachers, and there are many estimates that we are producing more teachers than we require. What high performing education nations do? They match supply with the demands. They always have a policy, they conduct survey, they make assessment, how many teachers they are going to know. Suppose this is 2022. So they exactly know how many teachers they will require in 2023, 2024, 2025. And accordingly, they are regulating the supply of teachers. So the difference is they know exactly how it's okay. They know, okay, in 2024, we will need 5,000 teachers. So maybe they are going to train about 5,000 or 5,500 or maybe 6,000 teachers, that's all. But in our country, there is no such assessment. So every college is producing similar number of students year after year. And so there are many problems ranging from unemployment to quality. So the first is number of admission. The difference between other countries and the successful countries and ours is we hardly follow the formula of demand and supply, and they follow a formula of how much supply have to be made in response to the demand. That's number one. Second, who are intent in the teaching profession? Basically, in India, teaching profession is for everybody. Anyone who is interested to become a teacher is most welcome. And the requirement is, as you know more than me, is I think just as 50% marks in graduation if we assume B.Ed and followed by an entrance test. That's all. So if you have 50% marks in graduation and you are ready to give an entrance examination, you are most welcome to be a teacher. anybody is most welcome. But in high performing nations, they always try to admit the best available talent. In Finland, becoming a primary teacher is the most difficult and prestigious prestigious task. People prepare quite long to get admission in teacher education. So all those successful nations, they find different ways and means to attract the best available talent to teacher education. But in our country, this is not happening. Although National Education Policy 2020 is talking about that, saying that we have to attract the best available talent, but we don't have any specific plan in this regard. So basically, in our country, teacher education is for anyone. Teacher education is not a first choice. We have to admit. But in those countries that are successful in terms of education and in terms of teacher education, often teacher education is a path for those who are best in there. So basically, teacher education, becoming a teacher is first choice, but this is not in our country. Although Professor Kak was saying Guru Brahma, so he was mentioning that slok, irrespective of this slok or many slokas representing the value of Guru. We don't have the first status for teachers in this country. So intent in the teaching profession, we differ. So we in our country, teaching profession is for anybody, and basically sometimes this is a last resort. But in those countries, becoming a teacher is first choice, not a second choice, not a third choice. And usually they are able to attract, they have different policies and schemes. If you are interested to discuss more, we can discuss later. So they have different policies and provisions to attract best available talent, and they are successful to admit the best available talent in teacher education. The third is process for admission. In our country, what is the process of admission? So the process of admission is usually 2-3 hour objective type test. So one is judging your subject knowledge, another one is teaching competence and something. More or less this formula is working all over India. So 3 hour objective type test, and once and this is not there is no cutoff. So if 100 seats are available, the admission will be given to 100 people. So maybe if you are getting 10 out of 100, you are eligible to become a teacher. So 3 hour objective type test, and this is an irony. If you go to the National Commission on Teachers, there were 2 National Commission on Teachers in 1985. One was dealing with the school education, and another one was dealing with teachers for school education. And there was a very clear-cut recommendation. If you have time, you can just go through that report. So they were saying that you have to admit teachers based on their subject knowledge, assessment of their personality, their communication skills, and so many things. But our present system is you have to clear 2 or 3 hour objective type test, and you are eligible to become a teacher. In successful countries, this is not the case. They screen candidate on different parameters, not only subject knowledge. They do such a rigorous testing before taking anyone on the board. This is not very easy to become a teacher because they assess you. There is a 360-degree assessment of you before taking you on board to become a teacher. They assess your personality, they assess your attitude, they assess your communication skills, they assess your subject knowledge. They assess you thoroughly, and once they are satisfied that you are a right person to become a teacher, only then they admit. And you know more than me as a college principal or as a professional in teacher education institution. We are ready to admit anyone. Just give an exam, and if you are just clearing this exam, there is no cutoff. So if seats are available, you are most welcome. So if we are taking such type of people in teaching profession, and then you can imagine. So number of admission, let me remind, don't follow this demand and supply policy. we follow a policy of fixed quota. Other countries, they match supply with the demand. In our country, teaching profession is for anyone, and basically this is a second choice. But in those countries, usually the best available talent opt for teaching profession, and our process for admission is mechanistic, just 3-hour objective type test, that's all. But in those countries, rigorous screening of candidates on different parameters. Let's move. Next, what is the vision of teacher education? So if you are interested to become a teacher, you are going to a teacher education institution. What is the vision of teacher education? In our country, frankly speaking, I belong to teacher educator community. In our country, basically, there is no clear-cut vision of teacher education. The only vision that I can see, you can correct me, clearing theory and practice examination. The moment I am entering into a teaching profession, our supervisors are telling me, you have to clear theory and you have to pass practice examination. This is the vision, clearing theory and practice examination. Although we have this national curriculum framework for teacher education in 2009 and the new one is coming, but basically the vision is to clear the exam. That's the vision. But in those countries, they all have a well-defined and nationally agreed vision of, what is the vision of? Vision of good teaching. What do you mean by good teaching? How you are going to prepare teachers that Professor S.K. Kak was deliberating, were looking for a well-defined and nationally agreed vision of good teaching, and every teacher education institution is following that vision in principle and in practice. So our vision, we lack clarity. What is the vision of teacher education? And if you don't believe, you can conduct a short survey. Your association can conduct a short survey of 100 or 200 principals, asking them about the vision of teacher education, and then you will get the answer of your question. We don't have any vision of clear-cut vision of teacher education. And if this vision is, many times our institutions are not aware about that. But in those countries, they have a well-defined and nationally agreed vision. And not only they have, institutions know what is the vision of good teaching, how to prepare good teacher, what do you mean by good teaching? So they know and they proceed accordingly. Next, the curriculum of teacher education programs. We also have a lot of talk. National Education Policy 2020 talks about bringing integrated teacher education program, and the argument is that in integrated teacher education program, subject knowledge will be combined with the pedagogical knowledge. So let's see what is the curriculum of teacher education program in our country. The existing teacher education program, if I can say in a very easy manner, if we study teacher education, the curriculum of teacher education programs in our country, we have more theory, more and more theory, less practice. And now practice is becoming just an ornamental. More theory, less practice. This is this we can use to define the curriculum of teacher education programs in our country. More theory, less practice. And the irony is that this theory is not combining with the practice. We lack integration between theory and practice. So suppose you are teaching about learning theories, but you are not helping your learner how to use these learning theory in real classroom situations. We are teaching theory for the sake of theory. Many things we are teaching in theory, we are not telling them, we are not helping our trainees to learn how they are going to use that theory in practical, in real classroom situation. So there is no, I can say, lack of integration between theory and practice. So the one thing is that we are more theory oriented. Second is we are less in practice mode. And next thing is lack of integration between theory and practice. In successful performing, in high performing countries, they maintain a balance between theory and practice. Basically, teacher education is a theory as well as a practice profession. So they always maintain, they look for maintaining a balance between theory and practice. So this is not that theory is too much and practice is less. They are always maintaining a balance. If they are putting something in theory, they are putting something in practice too. And next thing is that they are very particular, meaningful integration of theory and practice. Whenever a learner is learning anything in theory, he or she is always encouraged to bring that theory into practice, to convert that theory in practice. So in a way, a rightful assimilation of theory and practice. So first they make a balance between theory and practice. And second, they ensure that theory and practice integrated meaningfully. Next, what is the curriculum transaction approach? This is very important. Good curriculum matters, but how it is transacted matters more. So what is the curriculum transaction approach? I hope you will agree with me. Maybe you can disagree with me also. But based on my observation and based on the research, I can claim that our teacher education is mainly theory-driven rote learning. Our approach is theory-driven rote learning. You just learn this and you just reproduce it in the examination. So theory-driven rote learning, but in high-performing countries, they follow an inquiry approach. Why this? Why you are telling me? Why you are teaching this to me? How I'm going to use this knowledge in my real classroom? How this will help me to improve my teaching? How this will help me to improve learning in the classroom? So they always, they go for an inquiry approach. And in this inquiry approach, but natural, they connect theory and practice. So an inquiry approach connecting theory and practice in our country. So basically teacher education's program are theory driven. So you have to learn 5 questions, 6 questions that you are going to write in the examination. This is okay for liberal art courses, but this is not okay for teacher education where you are supposed to become a good teacher. So theory driven rote learning in comparison, the next right approach for teacher education is that those countries are following. They follow an inquiry approach. The moment I, as a teacher, telling something to them, they are asking me a question. Sir, what is the use of this theory in classroom? How we can use this theory in classroom? What will be the impact of this theory? So an inquiry approach. So our curriculum transaction approach differs. There are a lot of use of case methods, analysis of teaching and learning situations. Even in Finland, when they prepare for appearing in teacher education examination, they have been given a lot of case studies, analysis of teaching and learning, and they have to answer several questions based on this. So they always try to use case methods and they analyze different teaching learning situation. The ultimate purpose is to help our trainees to evolve as a better and competent teachers. Next is standards of professional knowledge and practice. Professor Kak was also telling about professional knowledge and practice. So yes, in National Education Policy 2020, there is a talk about national professional standards for teachers. NCTE come up with a draft. I don't know the exact situation, exact status of that national professional standard. But coming with national professional standards is one thing, is step one. The most important step is linking that standards of professional knowledge and practice for guiding and assessing coursework. So you agree with me, there is no such a standard, and if there is such an standard, there is no linking. We are neither guiding nor assessing our coursework based on this professional knowledge and practice, because this professional standards clearly tells us your teachers are supposed to able to do this. We are not. If first we don't have this professional knowledge and practice standard, and second is if we have any, we are not linking them. to our teaching and learning. In high-performing nations, they have well-defined standards of professional knowledge and practice. So if you are interested, you can visit any countries that I've listed in my first slide, and you can just type. Almost every country have a professional standards for teachers, not only for teachers, they also have even for pre-service teachers. So they have well-defined standards of professional knowledge and practice. And not only this, the most important thing is these standards are used to guide and evaluate coursework and teaching work. So the moment you are evaluating any coursework, you are doing any teaching, you are always keeping this standard in your sight. Okay, what I'm doing this, how this is going to help me achieve this standard or that standard. So the first thing is presence of these standards, and the second thing is linking of these standards in day-to-day teaching and learning process that is missing in our system. Next, if I have to move, mentoring of trainees. Mentoring is very important, is one of the best way to come up to produce good teachers. Mentoring of trainees. In our system, we don't have any standard procedure for mentoring training. Although in B.Ed, when we give seats for teacher education program, and when we fix a ratio of 1:10, the ratio is fixed that a teacher is going to mentor at least 10 students. In some institution, they always have this, okay, in the beginning, they say, these 10 students belong to you, you are a mentor for them. But we don't follow any standard procedure for mentoring trainees. The only time that we go to supervise practice teaching, that all, and usually everybody is teaching to everybody. So we don't have any specified or clear or standard procedure for mentoring training, because this mentoring is throughout. If you think about, if you read about Gurukul system of education was so successful because there was so much mentoring all the way. Teachers were mentoring and seniors were also mentoring. So in our, and if you would like to become a good teacher, a better teacher, you would like to produce, you have to mentor them. But unfortunately, we don't have any standard procedure for mentoring trainees, although in principle we agree that one teacher is going to supervise 10 students. But in higher performing nations, they have a scheme of proper mentoring. They have a very defined role. Who will be mentored? Who can be a mentor? Who is going to be a mentor? And what will be the process of mentoring? And mentoring is not that only teachers from teacher education institution, they also appoint mentors from practicing schools. So they have a clear-cut provision of proper mentoring that runs from the beginning of the session to the end of the session, not only for 5 or 10 days, a continuous process. So they follow proper mentoring. Mentors are carefully selected. This is not that everybody by default is a mentor. In our system, if you are a teacher, by default you are a mentor. No, they have specific qualification and expectations from mentors, and everybody is not entitled to become a mentor. They select mentors very carefully, and they give a specific status to teachers that you are a mentor too. So they are carefully selected for their expertise. And mentors also receive training. This is very important. So if somebody is selecting you as a mentor, you are receiving ongoing training, and then you are supposed to mentor trainees. So you are also trained. This is not that by default you are a mentor and you know each and everything and you are going to mentor. No. If you are selected as a mentor, you have to go for a rigorous coursework or a rigorous training. And once you are ready to mentor others, then you are allowed to mentor. So choosing mentor, training them, and then deputing them is a process, is a well-led process. But you know more than me what is the status in our country. Now, next is research and teacher education. Research has a direct linkage with the teacher education. In our country, I don't see, or I see the linkage between research and teacher education is very weak. In our country, the research is mainly conducted by faculty members, and we are conducting research sometimes for the sake of research. If we are conducting research, we are not bringing the research result to improve our classroom teaching learning practices or improve our education system or environment. So basically, the linkage between research and teacher education is weak, and in our system, the responsibility to conduct research is mainly with the faculty. In comparison, in those countries, teacher education is basically research based. You can ask me, what do you mean by research based teacher education? Research based teacher education means where a research is conducted with an aim to improve policies, practices, and processes of teacher education. The moment a research is conducted, its findings are implemented for the betterment of teacher education. So research has a direct bearing on teacher education. The research findings are implemented. In a way, you can also say more action-oriented research. The second is only faculty, no. Students are also involved in conducting research. So if you are a teacher training, you are also encouraged, you are also guided, you are also mentored to conduct research, and you are also motivated to use your research finding to improve your teaching learning practices and processes. So research is not only a task for the faculty, research is also an integral part of the day-to-day learning of a student. So basically, in those systems, research has been integrated as an integral component of teacher education. So first is research with teacher education, and then who conducts research? Both faculty and student. And good thing is that they both try to incorporate their results for betterment of teacher education policies, practices, processes, and that's why this is always an evolving process. And so they use research for the betterment of teaching learning practices. But our system is that we conduct research, we sometimes conduct research to just gain some scores, that all. But in teacher education system in other countries, research is always guided by the fact that how the findings are going to be used for the betterment of teaching and learning. If I have to look for, this is also a very important area, school institution partnerships. You cannot imagine any teacher education. Any teacher education. Okay, any teacher education without school institution partnerships. Yes, we visit schools, but we visit schools mainly for teaching practice for a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, that's all. In a year, we visit schools for a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and sometime our students go for internship, that's all. We don't have any continuous engagement and collaboration with the schools. But in those countries, there is a strong and continuous school-university partnership. Throughout the year, school teachers are coming to university, university teachers are going to school, they are doing collaborative teaching, they are doing collaborative research. So they are like a family, where school is supported by university and university is supported by school. There is a continuous bonding, a strong bonding, not like us, that we are visiting schools just for a ritual of practice teaching and we are going to them for 2 weeks and that's all. And they also invite and involve school staff for institutional activities. So if you are a teacher education institution and if you have a linkage with any particular school members, school staff is often invited to participate in they are also invited to give talks. Sometimes they are invited to conduct joint research. So there is a collaborative process, continuous process. So schools are thinking we are also integral part of teacher education. In our system, schools are thinking we are just a place to be used once in a year. So this is a feeling in our country, but in those systems, there is a strong and continuous school-university partnerships. Then this is also important, assessments in teacher education. How we assess our trainees, how we assess that they are really become or are emerged as a good teacher, as a competent teacher, as a wonderful teacher. Assessments in a way. In our country, basically assessment is an individual basis. So you are a teacher trainee, you are writing an examination, and a particular teacher is deputed to check your manuscripts or check your answer script. That's all. Assessment on an individual basis, and this assessment is mainly marks or grade based, and anybody is happy if he or she is getting good marks. And getting good marks has no direct linkage with the quality of teaching. Maybe a student getting good marks is not so good a teacher. So assessment on an individual basis, and we perform this assessment in terms of marks and grades. So, and usually the assumption is if you are getting good marks, you are a good teacher, but this is not right. A good teacher is something very different than a person who is getting good marks. But in our country, the trend is teachers are happy, principals are happy, college is happy, and parents are happy if their wards are getting good marks and marks and grades. But in our country, assessment is particularly on an individual basis and performed in terms of marks and grades. And this is not leading to good teachers. But in those countries, assessment is based on professional standards. Okay, you are supposed to perform those many activities. Can you really perform those activities? Can you excel in those activities? If you are able to do, you will be qualified. If you are not, then we will not qualify you. We will not give you a status of professionally competent teacher. So assessment is always based on professional standards, and assessment through demonstration of critical skills and abilities. So what type of abilities you have learned, what type of critical skills you can show me. Performance-based assessments rather than checking the manuscript and giving some marks. Because as a teacher, you are supposed to perform, you are supposed to deliver. If you can perform, if you can deliver, we will assess you and we will certify that you are a wonderful teacher and you will be a wonderful teacher. But if you cannot perform, if you cannot certify, then we are not going to certify. So assessment through demonstration of critical skills and abilities, and usually in those countries, they use performance assessment and portfolios. Portfolios has emerged as a new tool in teacher education. And I hope some of you have started using portfolios. If not, then I will suggest you, then as a college principal, you can take a lead and you can start using portfolios. What do you mean by portfolios? Now we have come up with the concept of e-portfolio. E-portfolio is a kind of a place where you can demonstrate, I know these many things, I can perform these many things. So you can teach, you can do some collaborative work, you can engage your student, you can answer questions. So you are demonstrating, and every demonstration is part of this portfolio. So based on this portfolio, any institution who is interested to hire you as a teacher, that institution is going to see your portfolio, and once they are satisfied with your portfolio, once they are happy with your portfolio, they can immediately hire you. So in many countries now, the next thing is they are not relying more on exams or things like that. They are always telling their trainees, prepare a portfolio, we will assess your portfolio. So maybe a 3-4 minutes recording of your classroom, where you are answering questions, where you are introducing lessons, 3-4 minutes recording where you are conducting a group work, 3-4 minutes recording where you have written something. So a valid documentation of all the skills and abilities that you have acquired through your teacher education program. So they are using this, but we are still very happy with the checking manuscripts, awarding marks and grades, and thinking that we are producing good teachers and wonderful teachers. So this is friends, these are few references. I can give you many more ample literature that I have used for these presentation. And if you are interested, I can recommend you many more ample literature is. And I will again remind that this is not that only we have to learn. Other countries are learning from other countries too. The only difference is we know, but we don't learn. Those countries, they are following and they are learning as well, that I can say. So thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. This is such a topic that we can debate for hours, we can discuss for hours. But if you are thinking that we can bring a change, you cannot bring any change, but as a college principal, you can certainly bring some changes. And if you are ready to do that, so I think the fate and future of teacher education will certainly change and improve. Thank you. Thank you so much for giving me this
Thank you, sir.
opportunity.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you.
Thank
Thank
you
you so
very
much. Yes.
Thank you. If any question or comment, I have 4 or 5 minutes with me. So
For the question answer session, over to Dr. Sushila Narang.
yes, somebody raised their hand, so I will be happy to respond.
Sir, good afternoon, sir.
Afternoon.
PK Mishra, sir. Sir,
Yeah.
excellent, sir. Very good comparison between India and other countries, sir. Sir, my one question is about standardization of our professional knowledge and practices, sir. So, but actually NCTE are they are assessing our standards and all, sir. But in the meantime, how they were grading, ranking and all, no, they are giving some. So because of that reason, how they were all, sir, A+ grade. Actually, before that one QCI came, even E things also came, sir. So, but if they are not assessing means, then why they are giving a permission to our colleges for running a colleges and also, please, sir.
Okay, Dr. Nagaraju, first we have to differentiate between what professional standards I was talking about. The standards is not that you have a good building and you have so many faculty members and you have so many labs. This is not a standard. And this is not going to help the quality of teacher education. Professional standards means as a teacher, if your trainee is able to do this, able to demonstrate this is a professional standard. So professional standards is not accreditation of your institution. Your institution is A ranked or B ranked or C ranked. This is not professional standard. Professional standards is your teacher is able to bring a joyful learning in your classroom, can bring a collaborative learning in classroom, is able to support their learners in holistic development. So these type of professional standards, NCTE I think last year come up with the national professional standards for teachers. I was talking about those standards. I was not talking about accreditation, and I don't believe in this. So a good building will never produce a wonderful teacher. A good teacher will always produce a good teacher. So I was talking about professional standard from that perspective, not from this perspective. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
May I ask questions, sir?
You're most welcome, ma'am.
Sir, in the month of October, we received the guidelines from UGC for the merger of the higher education institutions into to be multidisciplinary institutions. So if a degree college wants to apply for the ITEP, Integrated Teaching Education Program, they have to apply on NCT portal. But the portal opens in the month of July. Now it will open in the month of July 2023. So we will not be able to admit the students for 23-24. If we will be working on the portal in that month, we will be able to do all.
I'm not from NCTE, but I can only say that they are piloting this ITEP program, and once this pilot is over, they will open it. That I can say. I don't belong to NCTE, so I can only comment on this.
Sir, thank you, sir. Over to Dr. Sushila.
Anji, excuse me, sir.
Yes.
May I
Yes,
ask
please.
one? Anji.
Yes,
Thank
please,
you.
you can ask.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Firstly, I would really thanks to Dr. Misra, Professor Misra, for raising such a question which is coming every day in our mind. I am also working in education college, sir, and I really appreciate that all the points you raised are very well deserving question. But what is coming in my mind as you raise the very first question that we never bother about the demand and supply, and it is very much true because the approval is being given by the NCT to each and everyone. Due to that, we are unable to give the admission to deserving candidates because supply is more, demand is less. If this is the case, when the entrant is not up to the mark, what the best you can do in the classroom, even if you have a good urge to do something good. The second thing I would add in this, that as you said that in the developed nations, they are entering in a teaching profession is a rigorous thing. It's a very difficult one. But my question is this: when in India the teacher is just getting a meager salary, then how you can invite the most scholarly person to enter in this profession? These are only the 2-3 questions. I say I have a list of questions, but
Yes,
I
yes.
must appreciate that you have really raised very, very good questions.
No, ma'am, I agree with you, and I am a strong advocate for this demand and supply. So I have written several times, and I also informed NCTE, but they have to take a decision. Regarding your sixth question is, maybe sometimes we are thinking that our salary is low, but if we are taking only good people, so of course salaries will increase. If there is one job and 100 people are available, then of course, but if one job and only 10 people are available, the salary will certainly increase. So this is also linked, but this is a very difficult question to answer. But once the quality will increase, the salaries will also increase. This I assume.
Thank you so much, sir. Actually, the
Okay.
point is this: from where to start.
Yes,
Actually,
ma'am.
higher authorities must take the initiative. We
Yeah,
as a
yeah, but
teacher really
ma'am,
want.
I always believe that okay, they have to take their decisions, but few things we can, as college principal, as teacher education institution, we can bring some changes, and we have to start bringing those changes rather than waiting for a direction from NCTE or UGC or any other bodies. So we have to start changing from ourselves, and hopefully they will also change. That I can say.
Yes, sir. Actually, sir, the point is this: ki when there are so many seats and going vacant, then you come to the compromises, and you are compelled to accept the. You
No,
can say
this I know. This I know. That's why I believe in that demand and supply. You have to have a survey how many teachers we need, and accordingly you have to adjust your seats. So you have to change your mindset at
yes,
the level of policymakers.
thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Any others?
Yes, ma'am.
Want to add up or want to ask something from the sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Can I please?
Yes, please. Dr. Ruma Roy.
Yes, I'm Dr. Ruma Roy
Okay.
from St.
Yes, ma'am.
Anne's College, College of
Okay, ma'am. You can
Education.
ask.
Sir, I just want to say a word on the portfolio evaluation. We have been following this portfolio evaluation process from 2010, and it's very effective and an excellent means to identify teachers of great caliber and competencies. That is just to endorse what you have been telling. There's one question which I would like to ask is, there's a wide difference in the credit structure of the international or the good colleges which you were mentioning about. How do we match with their credit structure if NCT gives a different credit program?
Ma'am, in short, I can say the first thing is that I can request Dr. Shupal and his team to invite you to deliver a lecture on this use of e-portfolio, and so everybody will be aware. So we appreciate you are doing it, and you can share your knowledge. The second thing is new national credit framework is coming, and a draft is ready, and I think this draft is available on the UGC website. So hopefully they will finalize it in coming months. And once they will finalize it, I think NCT will also take note, and they will also come up with a new credit framework, that I can say.
Anyone else?
Yes, ma'am, may I please?
Yes, please.
Thank you so much, Professor P.K. Mishra, for elaborating very well about the comparison of our practice and the practices of the highly performing education system. My question is that how could we be up to the mark or up to the standard of the highly performing education system, what you said earlier? Even so many colleges don't have the proper resources, and how could we check on all these colleges?
Yes, I agree. There are many issues, but there are some issues that are not in your hand, like this admission and many issues. But some issues are in your hand that you can chalk out and then you can start working on it. Dr. Rumara, they are using this e-portfolio and they are very happy with it. So you can start what you can do instead of waiting that a circular or a notification will come and then we will act. You can see what we can do best in our real situation and start doing this. I always follow this philosophy. So, and hopefully things will change. Policymakers will also bring with good policies, better policies. But don't wait for that. Okay, they will bring a policy after 5 years and then I will start. Life is too short. So, because if teacher education is good, our country is the future of our country is good. But if teacher education is not good, I am afraid our future is not. So we cannot be sure about our future. So teacher education, good teacher education is very much required. And you people are the persons to lead this.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, sir. Thank you so much for your nice deliberation.
Thank you.
Sir, one question is in my mind that committee has suggested multiple ways such as collaboration, merging, clustering between institutions to achieve the characteristics of a multidisciplinary institution. But, no doubt, 50% of the population is very happy that we are going towards the national education policy. But, what I found is that major flaw in this policy is that nobody knows about how to initiate. What is the initial step? How to initiate by the standalone institution or how to initiate by the degree institution. So this is the major flaw, but I find. So can you guide us regarding this?
Ma'am, I believe I have a different thinking. I believe that teacher education institutions are always multidisciplinary education institutions. Where
Yes,
you
I
can
know
get
that.
in your staff, you have a PG in economics, you have a PG
Yes,
in physics, you have a PG in chemistry. So you are teaching pedagogy of Hindi, you are teaching pedagogy of physics, pedagogy of science, pedagogy of biology. So multidisciplinary is part and parcel of teacher education. Of course, they are seeing multidisciplinary from a different perspective, but for me, teacher education is always was and is always a multidisciplinary way, because we have different people from different background as faculty members, and we also have people from different backgrounds as would-be teachers. So we are always a multidisciplinary institution. This is my thinking. This is my argument.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot. Thank you so much. As we say, thank you, such a prayer that cannot be seen or touched. It's a really wonderful session. It was very informative and enriching. Thank you so much for your valuable time that you had made us available to listen you. We are looking forward again to see you in more and more session.
Thank you, ma'am.
Indeed.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Credit goes to Professor Shivpal and his team, and so for giving me this chance.
Thank you, sir. So, thank you very much. Thank you, sir.
They keep in touch, and okay, we
Thank
have
you,
to
sir.
work for betterment of teacher education. That's I can say. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Now I request Dr. Reni, Vice President Kerala Chapter, PACE, for the facilitation of the program. Dr. Reni. Dr. Reni, is she there?
Yeah, it is Rani Madam. Rani Madam, please.
Yes.
Okay.
Sir, audible?
Okay. Dr. Rani, sorry.
Am I
Yes,
audible?
ma'am, you are audible. Yes, ma'am, you are audible.
Yes. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Respected Dr. Shivpal Singh, President, PACE India. Professor S.K. Kak, former Vice Chancellor, CCS University, Meerut and Mahamaya Technical University. Respected Professor PRADEEP Kumar MISHRA, Director of CPRHE and NIEP. Respected Dr. K.T. Nagaraj Naik, Member of PACE, Karnataka Chapter. Respected Dr. Benny Jacobsi, Coordinator of this seminar and an Assistant Professor of KPPM College, Principals and Teacher Educators of various training colleges. First of all, I extend my sincere and heartfelt congratulations to the organizers, the PACE India, the University of Devangiri and KPPM College for their initiative to select such a relevant topic and eminent personalities to these 5 days. Actually, it's my privilege to convey felicitation to the session as Vice President of PACE Kerala chapter, because PACE is always working for the quality restoration of education through quality teacher education. Actually, the last two sections are highly informative because Professor S.K. Kak presented the need of multidisciplinary courses, multidimensional thinking, technology-based pedagogy, etc. Professor P.K. Mishra mentioned the need of well-planned teacher education and compare our system, a teacher education system with other countries in terms of vision of teacher education, curriculum transaction, linking of teacher and learning, etc., etc. The last two sections are really highly informative to all the participants. While considering curriculum, we have to think the classroom as an organization and teacher as the classroom manager. And the curriculum should have the adequate material to enrich the different dimensions of curriculum, different dimensions of classroom management, such as the infrastructural array management, instructional management, behavioral management, evaluation management, etc., etc., etc. Then, while considering the second aspect, that is the manager, classroom manager, we have to connect it with the classroom organization as well as the teacher education. As mentioned earlier, the Union Cabinet has approved NEP 2020 with a view to set out the path of education for next 20 years with a specific vision and mission in accordance with the scientific and technological developments, cultural and political background of the world, particularly based on our nation. I think the success of the policy depends upon the efficiency, skills, attitudes, and resourcefulness of the personals working in the grassroots level. They are the classroom managers of the teachers at different levels. So the policy makers should give due emphasis to produce and develop such refined classroom managers or the teachers through pre-service and in-service training programs. As per NEP 2020, the UGC and the NCT have published guidelines to convert teacher education institutions, especially standalone in B.Ed colleges have to take necessary steps to convert multidisciplinary colleges. This shift in the current status of B.Ed colleges faces several challenges of teacher education, teacher educators and the stakeholders are in a dilemma to tackle this problem. So the policy maker, I have an opinion that the policy makers should have an open-mindedness to make appropriate amendments to support these personnel without compromising the quality of education. Another problem I have to mention here is that many of the teacher educators and stakeholders are not aware of these challenging issues in its real sense. So hence, this initiative taken by these organizers are highly commendable. Actually, I hope at the end of this seminar, we can recommend certain strategies to overcome these problems and dilemmas in the field of teacher education. Actually, it will be the ultimate objective of this seminar, which were already clearly defined in the objectives of the seminar. I take this opportunity to extend my hearty wishes to all the success of the seminar and also appreciate the effort taken by Dr. Devanandan to solve these problems in the state as well as in the nationwide. I also extend a sincere thanks to the organizing committee to give such an opportunity to me. Once again, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much for your intellectual deliberation and your views. Your suggestions are most welcome. We will keep in mind to discuss in the end of the session. Thank you so much for your wonderful views. Thank you, ma'am. Now I request Dr. K.T. Nagarajan Nayak, member Karnataka chapter base, for the felicitation of the program. Dr. Nagaraja. Yes, sir. Sir, your voice is not audible.
Nagaraj, sir? Yes, sir. Sir, am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now
Yes,
you
sir.
are audible.
Okay, thank you, madam. Thank you, madam. So, a very good afternoon to all respected office bearers of PACE, distinguished delegates, and friends. Really, today, this afternoon, we had a wonderful session. Both the speakers enriched us with a lot of information in connection with teacher education. In today's competitive world, comprehensive learning and a unique education system is need of the hour. With multidisciplinary approach, it could be possible to establish a more collaborative teacher education program. Indeed, multidisciplinary approach in teacher education opens various opportunities to students and teacher educators. According to University Grant Commission, this kind of approach will help to develop well-rounded individuals that possess 21st century skills and competencies. As it is mentioned in National Education Policy 2020, multidisciplinary approach is relatively innovative and most modern, well-equipped with latest skills, and this will certainly useful to make teacher education program more professional. In this direction, there is a need to establish more and more integrated teacher education centers, research centers, and my concern is here, there is a need to establish a teacher education university. As our observation, we know all. In medical education, there is a health or medical universities are there. In technical education, there are technological universities. Then in connection with the legal studies, there is law university. Then in connection with agricultural education, there are agriculture universities. In a similar way, we need teacher education universities to enrich our program so that we can have our own recognition. So this kind of webinar, no doubt, certainly provides a good platform to teacher educators in order to share innovative ideas. So when we talk about multidisciplinary approach in teacher education, before implementing this, what is required? Proper preparation is needed. Proper preparation in connection with a well-equipped curriculum, the well-trained human resources, the required infrastructure facilities, then assessment process. Each and everything preparation is required in order to make more effective this multidisciplinary approach. So indeed, really it is a very wonderful webinar. By this particular program, we are going to getting a lot of information in connection with the teacher education. I would like to congratulate all the members of organizing committee, particularly President, Vice President, then Joint Secretary, Dr. K.S. Gangadhar, then Dean, Faculty of Education, Davangere University, Dr. Venkatesh Sir, and all the office bearers for their selfless and sincere effort for making this webinar a great success. Definitely, this kind of platform is required in order to share our innovative ideas. So thank you very much for organizing this webinar as well as for giving this opportunity. Thank you once again.
Thank you so much, sir. Thanks a lot for your kind words. As we know, the teacher must be at the center of fundamental reforms in the education system. And given such an important role to a teacher in the education system, it becomes all the more important to strengthen and refresh the skill base of teacher on a continuous basis. Therefore, bringing teachers to the forefront, we have tried to explore more regarding the NEP 2020. So therefore, we have arranged this webinar with our intellectual team, Professor Devanandan and Shipal Singh ji. I hope we will gather a lot of information in the end of this webinar. With the positive hope, now I request Dr. Beni Jacob for vote of thanks. Dr. Beni Jacob.
Ma'am, audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone, and virtual participants in webinar. Most respect, honorable educational legend, Professor S.K. Cock, former VC, CCS University Meerut, and MTU University Noida, and sir, the well-known expert, Director CPRHE, Center for Planning Research in Higher Education, NIEPA, Professor Dr. PRADEEP Kumar MISHRA, and National President B. Shivpal Singh, and National Secretary Professor Devanandaji, and all participants, good evening. In such a honor for me to get an opportunity to thank you all dignitaries in the webinar. On the behalf of the organizing committee for a 5-day national webinar series to provide the awareness on the transformation of educational colleges under the leadership of Principals Association of College of Education in India, and Davangere University, Karnataka, and KPPM College of Education, Kerala. I extend my gratitude to Professor S.K. Cock, who is an educational legend. In this speech, he delivered new ideas and paradigm shift of the educational situation in India. He, working as a former VC, CCS University Meerut and Mahamaya Technical University, Noida, he delivered so many slides related with the new educational system and how to change it, how to transform the ideology to teacher education. Then I delivered the lot of thanks to sir for relevant time for the discussion and sharing your knowledge to the delegates. Then special thanks goes to most respected director, Center for Planning, Research in Higher Education, NIEPA, the Professor PRADEEP MISHRA sir, presenting the new idea and presenting the assessment technique, teacher institution technique, school collaborated with institutions and assignments and the various visions from your idea and present scenario. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Our special thanks go to our chairman, Shubhal Singh sir. He is the best organizer all over in India. He delivered the welcome speech. I have shared the happiness and grateful to sir. Our principal, Devanandaji, coordinate the seminar with the support of all office bearers of Principals Association in India. I delivered so many happiness and grateful to Devanandaji. It is the honor for the get opportunity. Thank you all delegates and the extent to the deliver the felicitation speech. Rani ma'am working as a principal and the vice president of Kerala chapter. She shared the opinions. Then the Dr. K.T. Nagaraj Naik, member of Karnataka chapter, introducing new issues and challenges in the present scenario. I share my gratitude to facilitation speeches, the Rani ma'am and Nagaraj sir. Thanking to our coordinators, Dr. Tidda ma'am and Sushila ma'am and CPRHE sir is very inspiring and encouraging us with your words at this special day. This is the remarkable day in the educational scenario. It is very wonderful day. Give the many new ideas and paradigm shift and multidisciplinary approaches through the discussion. Thank you very much. The participants effectively participating the webinar and asked various level questions and interviewing the various guest speakers. They were contributed the many ideas related with questions. Thank you all delegates. The special thanks to organizing team and documentation team, and our special thanks to Mrs. Minuzak. He says the today's prayer. She delivered very meaningful prayer in the day. Thank you very much. The volunteers work hard for the past few days for the webinar. I share gratitude to all volunteers and principals and bearers of Principals Association. I congratulate to all participants for their active participation. Thank you everyone. Again, thanking for great success today's webinar. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot for such a wonderful words. You have used so many kind words that we are overwhelmed. Thank you so much. It was wonderful. And I, on behalf of PACE team, wholeheartedly would like to thank all the virtual participants that they were present for full session, and without them it was not easy to conclude the session. So before concluding the session, we will have a national anthem. Dr. Devanandan sir.
जनगणमन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगल दायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे जन गण मन
Thank you, everyone. And here is the information for tomorrow's
you.
session. Tomorrow's
Thank you,
session
madam.
will be at
Thank you all.
7
Thank
p.m.
you.
in the
Thank you,
evening.
ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much, Sushila ma'am and Tripta ma'am. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
So, Sarabjit Kaur ma'am,
Yes, sir.
Sushila ma'am, Divanji.
Yes,
and,
sir.
Tripta ma'am, it was a very fine session today. It was very successful for us, isn't it?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
100%.
Definitely, sir. It was a very successful and informative session.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
really,
Speakers
really.
were very informative, sir. Speakers were
It
very
has
good.
lasted for 2 hours, 30 minutes.
Actually, we have to inform our gratitude to our Divan. Sorry, Shupal Singh ji, because he has routed Pradeep Mishra ji and Professor Kak to our program.
Okay. They were
Great
yes.
resource
Great.
persons.
Need not
Thank
to
you,
thank
Dr.
because
Shupal
this is our
ji.
duty. This is your duty, so you need not to say thank you.
But you have
The
taken so
success
much
of
care.
any program depends upon the qualified and learned resource persons. So
Learned
you have
Yeah,
done that
resources.
job.
really.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sir,
Thank you.
Okay.
I'd like.
Bye.
Okay, sir.
Tomorrow we will.
Thank
Thank you,
Bye,
sir.
Yeah,
Thank you,
Bye, bye.
thank you, everyone, and participants also very